Okay, and we're live. Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Tonight, Mark Scotch returns to give us an update on his most recent bike ride on the Oregon Trail, what he refers to as the Oregon Trail 4.5 ride. This leg of the ride began on March 9th, 2023, and ended April 16th of 2023, approximately 1,500 miles. This was his sixth kidney ride, which included four major cross-country rides and two ultra-marathon races. In effect, all six rides cover from International Falls, Minnesota to New Orleans and from Martha's Vineyard to San Diego. Mark has been interviewed well over 200 times for TV, newspaper, radio, podcasts, and magazines. Recently, Mark and his wife Lynn had a surprising visit on the Today Show, which has over 800,000 daily viewers and many more online. As you will recall, Mark and his wife Lynn are indirect voucher altruistic kidney donors and kidney advocates raising awareness of kidney disease and the need for kidney donors. Mark is a 67-year-old kidney donor who on our prior broadcast, September 24th, had just come off another Oregon Trail visit. Mark does this to honor his indirect recipient, Hugh Smith. His wife, Lynn, who recently on January 10th, 2023, became an NKR voucher donor herself to a 2-year-old boy named Cooper. But more importantly, they do this to raise awareness for kidney donation and the need for more kidney donors. Mark's journey with kidney disease began in early 2020 when he met Hugh Smith, a former professional jockey. During his days as a jockey, Hugh suffered numerous injuries and took ibuprofen to relieve the pain. As a result, Hugh's kidneys failed in 2019, putting him on dialysis and a waiting list with approximately 100,000 other people waiting for a kidney transplant. The day that they met, the men were strangers, but by the end of the day, Mark knew he wanted to donate a kidney to Hugh. Mark was not a direct match for Hugh, but through the National Kidney Registry voucher program, he donated to a matching recipient on Hugh's behalf, moving Hugh up to the top of the list, and early in 2021, Hugh received his life-saving kidney transplant. The NKR voucher program, which allowed easier donation for Mark because it allowed him to donate on his schedule locally in Wisconsin as opposed to where Hugh was in Louisiana. The voucher program also allowed Mark and Lynn's kidney to go to the best matched recipients, and it also allowed their voucher recipients, Hugh and Cooper, to receive the best matched kidney. This means the possibility of less immunosuppressant drugs for all four of those individuals. As a result of Mark's effort, he has received the 2021 USA Award Humankind Triumph of the Year. You can read more about Mark's trips and his advocacy work at www.markscotch.com or the Oregon Trail on Facebook. And when you see this broadcast, I'll have it pinned to the top of my Facebook page and all kinds of links for you so you can drill down on what's going on with Mark. Mark has said, quote, "As unbelievably wonderful and inspiring the Oregon Trail rides have become, it's always great to be home again, drinking from my own coffee cup. Lynn and I can't begin to name the dozens and dozens of individuals and organizations who have helped us. Transplant hospitals, dialysis clinics, ACT, that have partnered with us, and the hundreds of people that we've met in the past 2 years, beginning with our first Oregon Trail kidney bike ride. We have completed the routes of the kidneys. In other words, Mark is riding his bike where the kidneys went, where his kidneys went, where the direct donor for Hugh and the direct donor for the little boy went. And it's taken quite some time. We have completed the routes of the kidneys based on the National Kidney Roster Program that Hugh Smith and I participated in. In all, Mark has completed over 6,400 miles on his rides. Please give a warm welcome to Mark Scotch. Mark, how you doing tonight?
Great, Jim. Thank you so much for the introduction. I kind of forgot most of that stuff.
Well, let's hope that refreshes your memory a little bit. Did I state everything correctly in the introductions?
Yes, pretty much so. Yeah, it's there's been a lot going on in the last 2 years for sure.
Okay. Briefly tell us about your relationship with Hugh Smith and what led you to donate a kidney on his behalf.
Well, Hugh and I just made a chance meeting at a microbrewery in Louisiana. My wife and I had recently retired from working up in Wisconsin, and we were on our way to Texas for the winter. And we just happened to stop in Louisiana on the way in February of 2020. And Hugh was there. I was there. We started chatting. He's into sports. I'm kind of into sports. And after a while, he got up to leave, and I kind of gave him a hard time about leaving. And he told me he had to go home. And he really wasn't getting into it. He acted like he really didn't want to tell me that he had to go home and go on dialysis. And I was very surprised at that. And then he said, I'm kind of looking for a kidney. And I immediately said, heck, I'll give you one of mine. And I could do that because my sister-in-law had donated 12 years previous. So I don't know what was going on in my head for 12 years. I never had a question before, never thought about it, never considered it. I just knew that she had donated a kidney. And it's really critical, I think, for people to get out of this story is that you've got to tell people your story that you need a kidney. I mean, if you wouldn't have said something, I wouldn't have known. As it's that simple. So, and you explained it very well. We started looking into donation, and I learned about the National Kidney Registry voucher program. And the reason why I'm so excited about the voucher program, and my wife and I both are, because we both donated through it, is that it allows the donor the easiest way to donate a kidney. And that is critical, I think, because the more obstacles we can remove from donation, the more people are going to be able to donate. Just simple. So the voucher allowed me to donate and do everything in Wisconsin, which was huge. So there's a lot of pluses to it. Anybody that's looking for a kidney, look into the voucher program. It makes it so simple for the donor. And that's the key. Make it easy for the donor.
Okay. What state was your kidney sent to?
My kidney went to New York.
Okay. And Hugh received his kidney from where?
Southern California.
Okay. Tell us a little bit. Well, and Hugh received his transplant in early 2021. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about your wife, Lynn. She also made an altruistic donation. Can you tell us when she donated and where her kidney went?
Yes, she donated in January of 2023, just a few months ago. She actually started in the process not much longer after I did back in 2020, but she had some COVID delays. Basically, it just caused some delays with her body. After COVID, her platelet levels dropped and they didn't come up for 18 months. And the NKR and UW Wisconsin-Madison, where we both donated, where we were doing our donation work, Lynn got checked every month, did a blood draw, and finally her platelet levels started coming up, and that gave the surgeons confidence that they were going to go ahead and okay the surgery. They checked her for everything, and it was fantastic. It just goes to show how careful they are with the living donors. And I think that's a good takeaway from Lynn's story, is that they aren't going to do anything to risk a living donor. And so she donated in January, and she started to consider some people, and we knew a lot of people that needed a kidney at the time, and we were doing some work trying to find out where they were as far as with their situation for a donor. And it happened that someone told us about Cooper, a friend of ours that actually has ridden with me on the route. Cooper's grandmother and this guy that I know from my even before kidney donation, I knew this guy. We're both bikers. He's been on some of my rides. He's the one who told us about Cooper. And again, the key is getting the message out that there is a need. People will respond when they can. And so Lynn named Cooper as her voucher recipient, and the rest is history. It's a really funny thing. They scoured the whole country looking for a match for Cooper. And wouldn't you know it, a young lady donated in Minneapolis where Cooper lives, and they're within a couple miles of each other, but they didn't know each other.
Oh, wow. How about that?
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about how the Oregon Trail bike rides came to exist. How did that come into being?
Well, initially, when I was talking with Hugh's coordinator in his transplant hospital, which was down in Shreveport, they were telling me that I have to make multiple trips to Louisiana to see if I could donate a kidney. And if I could, I'd have to go down there to get tested. And there's just a lot of trips coming up to Louisiana. So because I like to bike, and wherever I go, I try to get rides, kind of figure out how to ride a bike. I decided I was going to do these multiple rides down the Mississippi River on all these trips we had to go to learn how to become a donor. So I had that working in the back of my head, and this is what I do anyway. I mean, it's nothing unusual for me. But then the voucher allowed me not to have to go to Louisiana. But what really started the rides when I was learning how to become a donor, I read that 13 people die every day in the United States due to lack of kidney transplant. And I just was blown away by that statistic. I said, Lynn, did you know this? And she said, no. And I said, I can't believe we didn't know this. There is such a need. There's such a urgent need. 13 people dying every day waiting for a kidney. So I already had the ride in my mind. So I said, why don't I just turn that into an awareness ride? And I contacted NKR to see if they wanted to help me with some media and stuff like that. And so that's really was the start of the Oregon Trail, was just converting it from a fun ride to an awareness ride.
Okay. And as I understand it, the idea behind the Oregon Trail bike rides is to kind of follow the path that the kidneys traveled. Is that correct?
Yeah. My first ride, I wanted to see Hugh after we had our kidneys. So our first ride was from Wisconsin down to Louisiana. I was short a kidney, and Hugh had gotten his kidney. So that's the second time we met. Both of our surgeries were done. And the purpose of the ride, of course, is to create attention. It's kind of the catch. This guy's riding a bike, thousands of miles for kidney donor awareness. So our whole goal is to create media attention, to try to get media to take a look at this and to help us get the story out to the public, to try to educate the public. So the media is a big part of this. We try to get as much media as we can. So we hype it up a little bit. But the real story is that there is an urgent need. We try to keep it very simple when we talk to the media. We let them know that there's a need, that there is this thing called the voucher program. We try to get that in the media attention. And thirdly, it's the fact that I'm doing these rides. I was 64 when I donated. I'm 67 now. I'm short a kidney, and I'm doing these rides, and I'm perfectly healthy. So we're trying to let people know that they can become a donor and live a normal life, whatever that is.
Okay. And I understand that you've been rewarded for your efforts. The 2021 USA Today Humankind Triumph of the Year award winner. That's kind of a big deal, isn't it?
Yeah, that was fun. They made a video of the ride and put it together, and then I was nominated and got selected by votes basically through the public, and got that award. And that helped us to get some national recognition. It helped us to give us some credibility. The biggest thing it helped us do is just get more just get more of the message out, get more people to where they could, understand and be educated about the need.
Okay, and just to repeat for our audience, you can read more about Mark's trips and his advocacy work at www.markscotch.com, the Oregon Trail website, or you can follow him on the Oregon Trail on Facebook. The link is streaming across now as we're speaking. And again, when we do the final polished broadcast on Friday, Mark has somewhere he has to be on Friday, so we're recording now. I will put in the comments all of my research material. So all of the articles that I could find, all of the YouTube videos, all that sort of stuff will be there. So if you want to drill down a little bit on what's going on with Mark, that would be an excellent place to look. Okay, I want to focus a little bit on your recent TOT 4.5 ride in Texas and Louisiana. Tell us a little bit about the event on March 9th with the president of the regional hospital and speaking to the Odessa Medical Center.
Well, yeah, so just to step back a little bit, so Hugh's kidney came from Southern California, so I decided to ride from Southern California to Hugh's house, basically. So I split that ride up into two different rides. The first ride was the spring of 2022, and that was from San Diego to Lubbock, Texas. And it just worked out that Lubbock was almost halfway. It was the first major city coming into Texas coming from Albuquerque. So we started again at Lubbock. So we ended there in 2022. So I already knew the people at the local hospital, and they were very receptive. They did a fantastic job receiving me in 2022, but they also did a great job kicking us off for 2023. We started right in the same spot, and it was just a great thing. We got to meet the local people, meet the local hospital. What they do there is they talk to people that are interested in becoming donors. They screen them, but the actual surgeries are done in either Fort Worth or Dallas, I believe. So that's how that works. So yeah, the president and I just said a few words to the media, and he explained what they do there locally, and it was a great start.
Okay. I have a note that you actually did a flag raising on the 9th of March at the UMC Health System to kick off your trip. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it was, I think it's World Kidney Day. We picked March 9th on purpose. And a few days before that, I had been doing different like Toastmasters, different clubs like Lions clubs and things like that. And I was able to meet a number of people online, and that's how the Odessa Midland thing came about. I did a Zoom for a local group, and just so happened in that club was the president of the local hospital down there in Midland, and they wanted to do something. Well, we really couldn't fit it into the schedule, so we went down there a couple of days early, and that's when we went to Midland to a nephrologist clinic, and we met some people there. So yeah, so the flag raising was something that most transplant hospitals do. It's to honor living and deceased donors in general. And when we're there, we try to meet with people that have donated there or maybe received an organ there. We also try to look for people that are looking for a transplant, whether it's kidney or liver, primarily living, and we try to get their story out. What we do is we get media there, and then I try to step back as much as I can and see if I can get the media to cover the local story of the local person looking for a kidney. Just one way to try to get their story out. The Oregon Trail story is going to get out no matter what, but we try to get the local people to be able to get their story out. That's really one of the big things we try to do. So as we're doing these rides, there's about 4 or 5 different angles we're really shooting at every day of the ride.
Okay. On on the 10th, you received a proclamation from Mayor Stephanie and a gift from the Rotary Club. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the Rotary Club in Lubbock and that area was fantastic. That's where that woman was who was the president of the hospital. She was a Rotary Club. So my route took me through this little town, and one of the local Rotary members talked to the mayor and said, "Hey, this guy's coming through on a bike," and we've done a lot of politician, if you will, political events. We invite the local representatives for a number of reasons. One is they have their own media; they can get the story out too. We want to inform them as well of what's going on, for legislation, possibly for, if we have state representatives or even national. And a lot of times they will present some kind of a proclamation or a accommodation kind of thing, which is really nice. And it gives the local media, again, something to write about and something for the local people to read about and understand that there's a need. And hopefully we can pick up some interest in some people that might want to get evaluated.
Okay. On the 14th of March, you had a meeting with the transplant team at the Medical City in Fort Worth. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, there was Medical City, and that one I believe was I had called there beforehand and talked to their media people. Typically, I talked to their media directors, and this, I think, at Medical City, it just so happened that the guy's a bicyclist. So I know as soon as I find a bicyclist, which is I've hit a couple of them, and as soon as they hear about the story, oh yeah, we're going to do something. So it just so happened that the president was a bicyclist, the chief surgeon was a bicyclist. We all got on bikes. We all did a little ride. President spoke of the hospital. So yeah, anytime we can do that, it's a fun thing. They did their own YouTube video, put it up on, they do their own media, so I don't have to do too much, but it's all there. And I'll send you some links. I've got total pages with all the links on it, so you don't have to look very far. I can actually send you all of those.
Well, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah, that'll help you out. So, I mean, every day, it was a little over 30 days on this ride, and literally every day we did something like this. I mean, it's just random. I don't direct it. I just call people up, months beforehand, get this set up. I'm coming through town. Do what you want to do. Do what you want to do to get your message out locally. I try to give them a reason for them to meet with us, for them to get their story out. What's their story? What are they trying to get out from their hospital? What are they trying to tell their public? If I can get that, then they run with it. I just show up.
I understand that by the 16th of March, even in Texas, you were running into some rough weather. You had to put your winter gear on, and you were getting coverage from Dallas Channel 5. Can you tell us a little bit about what was going on with the weather?
Well, we got some cool weather. I was still in my shorts. For me, cool weather was I put on socks. I normally bike in sandals with no socks. So I put socks on that day, and I have I put a little beanie on under my helmet. So that was my winter gear, and I wore a biking jacket too. So that was kind of the joke. They all had these winter coats on, and I was still there with short sleeves and shorts, but I had socks on.
Okay. On the 18th in Austin, you had a meeting with the Ascension Seton Seating Medical Center and UT Health in Austin. Also a tough traveling day that day, from what I read. You tell us a little bit about your meetings?
Yeah, that was a Sunday, I believe. And so it's Del Seton, Ascension Del Seton. They're a brand new hospital down there, brand new transplant hospital, just getting off the ground. When they heard about what we're doing, it was fantastic. They were excited. The program, the head surgeon there that runs a program came from Wisconsin. She actually was a surgeon up here in Madison at one time. She knows my surgeon. Lynn and I both had the same surgeon Dr. Mesrich. So there was a lot of cool connections. So they were super excited. So when we came in on Sunday, there really, there's nobody at the hospital really per se, but so we decided to have to come in on the campus and have the University of Texas Bicycle Police meet us and took us on tour through the campus. So we had a huge parade, basically. It was fantastic. We had bikers, we had people joining us from everywhere. So we had a great time Sunday, and then Monday we came back and had more of an official program at the actual hospital.
You had a prep rally.
Pretty much.
Yeah, that's the way it was. I saw it on your Facebook page. That's the way it was billed.
Yeah.
You also had people that recorded the whole ride, this last ride, did you not? People from either LSU or the college in Texas or both?
Yeah, when I first started putting these rides together in my head, way back the very first one, I knew at some point in time I want to document one of these because I know the power of a documentary. I was in one time for a ultra endurance race, and I saw it go out. I saw the film go out in local venues and things like that. And I thought, what if we could do a documentary on one of these rides? And luckily, I got to Lubbock. When I finished the ride from California to Lubbock in the spring of 2022, I actually just started talking to people at the campus at Texas Tech and got to meet a guy named Jared Foster, who is a professor there. And he has a class where he takes kids out biking, and he does some videoing on his own, some biking video, and did some stuff for himself. And he liked the idea. And so he talked to a graduate student, and the graduate student thought it was a good idea, and he used it for his thesis, actually. So he had his own truck, he had all their own equipment, and he was with us every day of the ride. He was with us, I think, 36 days straight. And he's got 600 hours of footage, and we're hopefully pretty soon going to start putting that footage together. And we've got enough footage to come at this from a lot of different angles. He did a lot of interviews with people along the route. He interviewed the president, like at UMC in Lubbock. He's interviewed people that have gotten a kidney. He interviewed a guy from Albuquerque, Pat O'Brien, who I met on my ride in 2022. Pat came down from Albuquerque with his travel trailer. Pat is on dialysis, him and his wife, Nancy. They came down. Pat rode with me one day, went on dialysis one day, and rode with me again the next day. So Michael went in and interviewed him in his travel trailer while he's on dialysis. So I haven't even seen these videos myself. I have these interviews. I don't know what's on them. But my goal is to create a documentary from the eyes of the people that need a transplant. I want to get that story out. And so that's how we're going to angle it. That's what I want to focus on. There's going to be some bikes in there. There's going to be all this, the stuff you think about is on a bike ride. But we want to spend most of our message to get the message across, to get their story out, because I think that's what the public needs to see. They need to see really what is going on behind the scenes in these people's lives. And I'm hoping it'll touch enough people that we can find more people that might want to donate.
Okay. And just so people understand, you have people that ride with you, either the whole ride or sections of the ride. Am I right about that?
Yeah, I opened the ride up. People can ride with me, but if they want to, I've got some rules.
Okay.
And the biggest rule is people have to be self-supportive. I mean, there's no sag wagon. There's no one's going to help them change a flat tire. I mean, obviously we'll stop and help somebody, but we're there to get a message out to the public. It's not about the bike ride. So if people want to ride with me, they're more than welcome to, but they have to understand they have to be self-supported. They have to understand that things can change. If I get a TV that wants to interview us, we might have to go somewhere or do something or stop right there or whatever it is. So, but people are want to ride with me. I've had people ride for a couple blocks. I've had people ride with me for days. I've had one friend from Wisconsin that's joined me for part of every ride. He hasn't ridden, I've had nobody ride with me the whole ride, but I had people from Texas ride with me that I never knew before. I've had people from California ride with me. A good friend of mine from Minnesota, from Indiana, and just from everywhere, from New York. Yeah.
Okay. By the 24th of March, you're in San Antonio and you're visiting with Fresenius Kidney Care Dialysis Center there, the Methodist Hospital Specialty and Treatment and Transplant Program, the Texas Organ Alliance. Can you tell us a little bit about that day?
Yeah, so before the ride, I sent out a random email to Fresenius, and I don't know, I must have been on their website, and I think I was on like contact us, you know how that link is. And
Yeah.
I just sent out an email and I just explained what I was doing, and I forgot about it, to be totally honest with you. And right before the ride started, I got an email saying, hey, we're interested in maybe partnering with you. So that worked out great. We met at one of their dialysis care centers, and I met a nephrologist there, and Michael did footage inside the facility. We talked to a number of different people that are in there getting dialysis treatments. So it opened, my wife and I had never been into a dialysis center before. We had never really talked to anybody while they're having dialysis, taking it. So it was a new experience for us. And it was just another way, another avenue to try to get our message out and get the message out in general of what we need here.
Okay.
And some of the other things, like San Antonio is a huge city. We couldn't stop at every place. So some of these, like San Antonio and Houston together, if I had 2 or 3 or 4 different people I was talking to, what I would do is put them together, and they didn't even know each other most of the time. But then these different organizations would come together and plan a single event for when I came into town. So when we got there, it might be 2 or 3 different organizations, and it really worked out well that way. And that's kind of what we did in San Antonio and Houston.
On the 27th, I noticed that you got hooked up with your son, Nick, and you did a little tour of the St. Arnold's Brewery. Can you talk to us about that?
Well, my son, Nick, he's in the Air Force, and he's stationed in Utah, and he did a little bit. He came down for a few days, the ride from San Diego to Lubbock, and rode with me. And he wasn't planning on joining us, but his work brought him down to Houston. So he met up with us, and we rode a little bit in San Antonio, which took us to St. Arnold's Brewery. And my wife went ahead and scouted it out and make sure that it was okay for us, and so we met there, and then from St. Arnold's, we rode down to where he was. We actually stayed with him in his hotel, so that worked out really well. He was down south of Houston, where all the NASA stuff goes on. So yeah, it was just a fun day. We just kind of are real spontaneous. Whatever happens. We have business cards. We met people at the brewery. We had our jerseys on. People want to know what we're doing. Met a guy from Wisconsin there that was all excited because he has a bike and he bikes, and we told him about the Oregon Trail and about what we're doing. And so we meet people at all levels at any opportunity we can. My wife, when she's doing support with the car, she's stopping at stores. She's talking to people at the hotels when we check in if we're staying at a hotel. We're just canvassing the area as much as we can whenever we do these rides.
Okay. On the 28th, you toured a place called Norris Home for transplant patients and caretakers. Something a little different. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so Norris Home was we had an event there, and I think we had 2 or 3 different groups there. We had one of the organ procurement agencies in Texas. There's 3 that cover the whole state, and they all did events with us when we were in their area. And for Norris Home, we met there, and I think there was 3 or 4 different organizations there So we got to meet everybody, and we got a tour of Nora's home. Lynn and I were able to go through there. And what Nora's home is basically kind of a Ronald McDonald house, where if people are coming into um, the city for any kind of surgery, primarily for any kind of transplant surgery, families can stay there at reduced rate and extended stay, things like that. So it's a fantastic organization, fantastic place. There's one in Madison that we support big time up here as well. And when we rode from Martha's Vineyard back to Wisconsin, that was TOT 2.0. We stayed at one in, I think it was Rochester, New York, actually. So we just kind of, just another organization that we were able to connect with.
Oh, excellent. Excellent. Talk to us about March 29th, the event at Baylor St. Luke's Medical Center on the McNair campus.
Yeah, that was really good. That was another hospital where I called, and it happened to be that the media director is a biker. So he said, "Oh yeah, we're going to do something." So he did a full event. He had speakers. It was a very interesting event there because we had a flag raising, and then he had lined up 3 or 4 different speakers, and one of the speakers was for the local OPO. One was a nephrologist, and I think one was a surgeon, and one was a person who had received a kidney just a few months before. And this person was Spanish, so he spoke in Spanish and English, and we really like that because we know that we need to get out to the at-risk, minority communities, Spanish, Blacks, and things like that. So he was trying to get his message out to the Spanish people through speaking in Spanish. And he didn't know anything about the Oregon Trail till he met us. And he's originally from Puerto Rico. His parents were in Puerto Rico. When he was 14, he was they were living in New York City as a young boy. But at 14, they sent him back to Puerto Rico. And he spent time there. And he ended up getting into music. And I think he won a Grammy back in 2022 or 2023 for some music that he produced. And a couple of weeks after we got home from our ride in late April, I get a phone call, and it's this guy that spoke. And he asked me about, basically, would I be interested in doing an Oregon Trail down in Puerto Rico with him? And we try to create awareness in Puerto Rico. And I'm kind of shooting it out there because we don't have any idea if it's going to work or not. But that's the kind of things that spontaneously come up as we meet people. So that might be one of the things we do at some point in time.
Okay. You mentioned something today that kind of surprised me before we started the broadcast today. And that is that recently you donated a part of your liver. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So after I learned so much about kidney donation and organ donation in general, it was pretty easy to understand that liver is really the same situation as kidney. There's people that need a liver donation, and there's people dying, waiting for a transplant, or they become too ill, they're taken off the wait list. There is no dialysis for liver disease. Yeah. So I looked into becoming a liver donor right after I donated my kidney back in 2020. But Madison, Wisconsin, where I donated my kidney, they told me that they only go to age 60. So I was 64 at the time. It's like, okay, I'm off the hook. I did, I checked into it. And wouldn't you know it, on the Oregon Trail 4.0 from San Diego to Lubbock, we did an event we do the events all along the way. So we did an event at UC Irvine, UCLA, and we were doing an event with USC, and their hospital that's associated with that is Keck Medicine of USC. And I got to meet one of their living kidney donors, or one of their living kidney coordinators, and he's a biker, so we'd bike together. So while we were doing the event at the campus at USC Keck, I started talking to a nurse next to me, and she said, "Well, I'm from the liver department. I just came down to support you guys and tell you what, we're so excited about what you're doing." And I said, oh, yeah. I said, I looked into liver donation, but I'm too old. Madison only goes to 60. So she goes, well, we go to 70. So, okay, back on the hook. So, and what do I mean by that? Well, on all these Oregon Trail rides, I don't ask anybody to become a donor. I don't think that's the right question. Nobody knows if they can be a donor until they're evaluated. It's not a real good question. Do you want to become a donor? Until a person gets evaluated, there's really no point in even thinking about it. That's my take on it. So I felt to not be a hypocrite, I needed to go get evaluated to see if I could even become a liver donor. So last October, I went out to Keck Medicine of USC and got evaluated and found out that, yes, it's kind of a funny story. I won't get into it too long, but the bottom line was I could become a donor, but they could only take a very small part of my liver because of the way my liver is structured. They couldn't take, they could only take the left lateral segment, I think it's called. And that would have to go to an infant, a baby. So that's what happened. I ended up donating a part of my liver to a little 9-month-old girl that had biliary atresia. And we both, just a couple days over a month, I'm home doing great. And she got discharged about a week ago, I think. And she's doing fantastic. So yeah, that's my liver story.
Wow. We are not worthy. Unbelievable. Unbelievable guy you are. Let's talk about some of the highlights of the Louisiana leg of your trip. I understand that on the 3rd of April, you were in Abbottville for an event with Fresenius Kidney Care Veterans Memorial, and you were on local TV with the school groups. Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, that was kind of the same thing when we did that Fresenius event up just north of San Antonio. They called me a day or two afterwards and they said, that went so well. We got such good feedback. Do you want to do it again in Louisiana? So we looked at our map and we looked at where they had a facility and looked how things could go. So we ended up doing it in Abbeville, Louisiana. So it was basically the same thing we did up in San Antonio. There was a TV group there, I don't remember a school group, but I guess I'll have to pass on commenting on the school group, but
that's okay.
I don't remember that. But basically, it's the same thing. There was a guy there that goes to dialysis regularly and religiously, I should say. He really made a point of it. He's looking for a kidney. He was able to get his story out on local TV, and that's the goal. And that was fantastic.
Awesome. I understand on the 4th of April, you took a little break from the trip and you were doing a living donor webinar that was remotely. I guess that was back home originally.
Yeah. So somewhere early in the ride, I got an email and it was from an organization in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And they had heard about my ride and they were doing, they're basically an organization that was primarily for blood donation, but then they're the local OPO in Milwaukee now, and they wanted to do a webinar on living donation. So they asked, if I'd be interested, and I said, "Oh, sure." She said, "Well, how would you fit that in?" I said, "Well, we would just fit it in, just let us know when, and we'll make it work." And that's what we did. Lynn and I were both on a panel, and there was a living kidney coordinator from Frederick Hospital in Milwaukee. That's part of the NKR network. So they spoke a little bit about from her perspective. She spoke from her perspective coming from the hospital. Lynn and I talked about our donation. They had another woman there that her son had died. So she talked about deceased donation. So it was just kind of a round table. And they tried to get it out to the local, local public people there to try to get the message out that there's still a need,
Okay. Talk to us about the 11th of April, an Oregon Trail reception at LSU, a parade on the parade grounds on the campus, the Louisiana-Oregon Procurement Agency. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So originally we were going to end the ride in New Orleans. That was going to be the end of the ride. But then my very first ride, the Oregon Trail 1.0, I got connected with a woman named Lori Steele, who is with the Louisiana-Oregon Procurement Agency called LOPA. And she helped us a lot on our first ride when we came into Louisiana from Wisconsin. So we were going to work with her again, and we were originally going to stop at New Orleans. But then when I got Texas Tech University involved with the documentary, we also, Lori's got connections with LSU students, and they have a class there actually where they talk to students about organ donation, and students do things in the community to get the word out, to get the message out, and they tie it into their college studies. So we tied in with them as well, and they tied in with us. So they wanted to do a reception at the campus of LSU when we came in. So we extended the ride another couple days north of New Orleans, and we ended it on the campus of LSU. I think a day or two after the women's basketball team won the national championship. So that was pretty interesting. So we had a fun time there. We had a great event a few days before in New Orleans. We through a connection to the National Kidney Donation Organization, we had a towboat ride across the Mississippi River. And in conjunction with that, we met with Ochsner Hospital, and we did an event with them. We tied it into one big event, which was huge. And that morning, before we did all that, Lynn and I were on 2 live TV shows on site, on the, I guess you'd call it on set. And so that was a huge day. And then we ended up on LSU campus.
Okay. So by the 12th of April, it's my understanding that the ride part of it came to an end. What kind of mileage had you put on during the course of 4.5?
It was right at 1,500, just a little over 1,500 miles.
Excellent. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about is on April 26th, you and your wife were on the Today Show in New York. And I understand that was a very interesting day. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, I'll back up a little bit. First, we were almost in Dallas, so it was pretty early in the ride. I got an email from a producer from the Today Show, and they showed some interest in maybe covering the Oregon Trail. And we were talking with them, and they ended up coming down to Louisiana, a producer, and she had a camera and a sound person out of New Orleans. And they met us a couple days before we got to New Orleans, and we spent 3, 4, 5 hours doing footage and interviewing. And then after we got done with the ride, they asked us to come up to New York City, and we were going to do an interview on set and talk about the Oregon Trail, kind of like what we're doing here. And so that was all set up, ready to go. Little did we know that they had other things in mind. They had contacted Hugh Smith, who was my voucher recipient, and snuck him up to New York without us knowing it. And I'd been talking to Hugh because I was saying, "You going to come down to Baton Rouge or not?" He goes, "Well, I'm trying to, but I got to work." And he's making all these flimsy excuses. Well, here he was. He had to get up to New York, And then they were talking to Lynn's. Well, they weren't talking to Cooper, but they were talking to Cooper's parents. And so they flew Cooper's parents out to New York as well. We had no idea. We didn't suspect anything. We were behind the scenes that morning up at the set of the Today Show. People were trying to entertain us so we wouldn't get curious. We were looking out the windows, and they were, "Oh, don't look out the windows." And we walked into this room, and they had a TV on, and it was the set, it was it was the actual set going on live. They turned that off, so we couldn't watch it. It's like, why can't we watch it? Well, we think it's better if you don't. It's no big deal, So they were trying to do everything they could to seclude us. So Lynn and I were like, okay, well, we've never been here before. We don't know what they do here. So we go out there and they show a video of the Oregon Trail, and they did a great job explaining the voucher program. That was one thing that really, I got to give them a lot of credit. The woman that we met, Caroline, the producer, when she heard our story and she started to understand the voucher program, light bulbs were coming on to her because she realized, like we do, it's a game changer. And so they did a fantastic job explaining the voucher program. And little did I know that then Hugh came out, and then they were talking to Lynn, and then the light bulbs went on in my head. Well, sure enough, here comes Cooper and his parents. So yeah, and my wife, it was very emotional for her because her surgery was so recent. And well, if people want to watch it, they'll understand why. It was a great day.
800,000 live viewers that day.
Yep, that's about what they get on average. I Googled it, so I think they must get at least half of that as much on YouTube, maybe more. I haven't looked at the YouTube video lately. I don't know, it could have 1 million hits already or more. I have no idea.
Okay. Talk to us about any future advocacy activities that you're allowed to discuss with us. What's going on for Mark in the future?
Well, when we went to Texas, I didn't realize it, but there was an organization down there called Lone Star Circle of Life. And they've been doing bicycle rides for the last 20 years, really similar to what I do. And I didn't know it. I just got connected with them by talking with the president of Donate Life Texas. He was the first person I talked to when I started setting up all my events. I called up Donate Life Texas, and the guy was fantastic. He put me in touch with the 3 OPOs, and he also connected me with a woman named Debbie Mabry, who has started this thing called Lone Star Circle of Life. So what they do is they go around the state of Texas in a week, and they have their own bicycle ride. They do it differently than I do. It's really cool. And a couple of people that rode with me, actually, that have done that ride. One was a woman who had received a kidney, and one was a guy who his young daughter, which is crazy connection, but his daughter at 2 months, 3 months old, had this same liver disease, biliary atresia, that I donated for. And his daughter was 10 years old now, and she rode with us when we did that ride at the campus of Del Seton and the University of Texas. She actually rode with us that day on her bicycle. So so basically I got to know these people. They contacted me, and it's not 100% yet. I think they're still evaluating me if they want me down there, but they've invited me to possibly come down in October to be an honorary Texan for the week and ride with them for their next bicycle ride. So I'm pretty pumped about that. Lynn and I are both excited about going back to Texas in October. The Puerto Rico thing is something that I want to pursue. And we have to, of course, do one more Oregon Trail ride for Lynn's donation. Her kidney actually went to somebody in Illinois, and then she gave the voucher to Cooper in Minneapolis. So we're going to probably do a Midwest ride, maybe next summer sometime, and go to Illinois and then go to Minneapolis, connect with Cooper and his family, see if they want to do a little riding with us, and then we'll come back to Wisconsin. That'll be kind of a short ride, but that'll be fun. And we've got things going on with liver now. I mean, it truly is. It's kind of funny. I called it the Oregon Trail. So I'm glad I didn't call it the Kidney Trail, because now I can include the liver in there because it's Oregon. So we might do some things with liver. I think there's some fantastic opportunities with liver donation, opportunities to maybe enhance what can possibly be done for trying to find living donors for liver.
Okay. Mark, do you have any final statements that you would like to make to our audience tonight?
Well, I think we covered it pretty good. Looking at my notes, everything I kind of put down, we covered. I know I talked a lot, so I feel like I probably talked enough. Okay.
All right. Well, I just wanted to say I appreciate you coming back on with us so much, and I wish you every success in your continued venture. And please keep us posted. Be happy to catch up with you again when it's appropriate.
Yeah, thanks, Jim, and thanks for everything you do to the community, for the community. It's fantastic that you're doing what you're doing. This all helps. I mean, we're all doing our part, and I think it's just great that we're all working together and trying to make it better for a number of people out there.
All right. You take care, buddy. I'm going to let you go now.
Take
Have
care.
a good night. Say hi to
Bye-bye.
Lynn for me.
Sure will.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, everybody. Thank you for watching. Terrific show tonight. Mark did such a wonderful job. So we will see you next time.